All right, we are going to start the newest, latest, greatest kit from Rolife, and we're going to do a corner bookstore. I'm going to probably break this down into two parts. So the first part, we're going to build the main frame, and then stay tuned for a second part. Coming up soon, we'll do all the rest. But in the meantime, let's see how the first part's done. Okay, we got the newest, latest, greatest kit from Rolife, and it looks like we're going to be making a corner bookstore. So, opening this up, now this kit is a little different than we're used to. It's definitely a different type and style of building, totally doable, but one thing I did notice is there's no glue, and it's all the wallpapers on the walls are already pre-printed, so it's more puzzle-like, I would say. But everything else, you know, in the little bags, just like what we know and love. So I always organize those by the number so I can find them. But yeah, the main pieces, as we're gonna get down here, they're all pre-printed, like giant puzzle pieces. But that's okay. Let's see if we like this new format. One thing I always recommend about any kit, not just these guys, but read the first couple pages, because they will give you a lot of tips and tricks to help you along the way. But as far as tools, so it gives you a pair of tweezers, a piece of sandpaper, and the little screwdriver, and there's your little double sticky tape strips that you're going to use a lot. But you're going to need a pair of scissors and something to cut with, pretty much. And that's about it. Alright, when I open a new kit, I always try to think of how can I break this down the best possible way to relay it to you how to do it, right? Or to try to help, at least. With this one, I think the best way is just to start on page 1 and keep on going, because it's not really, I mean, you kind of build it all at the same time. You do, but you don't. So we're just going to start with the very first thing, the door. And this is where the little double sticky tape comes in. When you're first using it, it's kind of awkward and weird. They want you on this one to put the sticky on the outside of your clear window there. But I decided I was going to put it on the inside. So I just stuck it here, puts the window over the top, and then I put the frame over that. They wanted it the other way around. I felt it would be a little more secure and look better doing it this way, like a sandwich. And just pay attention to your lines, because there are little etched lines. So as you can see here, there's little corners. So that's going to be on the outside. And I did break out my glue just for a little reassurance, because there was some parts that did not stick 100%. And after doing this a little bit, I used the glue a little less over time. But when there's parts that kind of, it's not holding together as well as I'd like, then I put a dab of glue, just for a little extra reassurance. And then you're gonna see how there's lines on there? So lots of stickers. Get used to lots of stickers in this kit. So use the lines as kind of your guide to go in the middle. I think it's supposed to look like a little picture frame. And then there's little guidelines on the door itself to center it up for you. Now this was the first project I did in this kit, so I didn't fully trust the tape yet. So I always put a little bit of glue just in case. But as I go on, I use the glue a little less, and that tape is pretty strong. The pros and cons of using the tape, the pros is it sticks immediately. The cons, it sticks immediately. So if you stick it down, it's really difficult to pull it back up and fix it if you got it crooked or anything like that. So, you could probably do the kit without this tape. I'm going to do it as they instruct, just to show you how to do it. But you probably could do it like you usually do with glue and things like that. And yeah, get used to the stickers. There's lots and lots of stickers. We're basically building the frame. So this little display rack is part of the wall down the line. So pretty straightforward. Now I noticed they have a bag number 1, and I just used a Ziploc bag to put all the parts and pieces in it, because that is the only bunch of items that doesn't have a bag. You don't want to lose your parts. But the nice thing is these are all numbered. I do like kits that put the part number on the part, but you also have to remember to put the part number kind of where it won't be seen in the final project, if you can. So this one's pretty straightforward. You're going to build the little angle piece on top, and then put in the side piece, and then build it from there. And these pieces, you don't need any glue. They fit very, very tight. You're going to get strong fingers. And you'll see me here looking at the printing. So the printing side goes down on most pieces. So there are some that the printing has to go up, but it's usually because they're covered up or it's behind something and you won't see it anyway. But for this little display case, make sure your little part numbers aren't showing. Now remember the little bookstore we built a million years ago? Well, this is going to be so easy compared to that, because all we do is to build our books and magazines is we're going to stick this little sticker on the piece of wood here. And the only hard part, I would say, is just centering it up. And even if you didn't center it properly, you're okay. And then we're just going to put some tape on the back, because we're going to put our little magazines or books or whatever they are back here. And when you place your little books make sure they're at an angle. It kind of forces you to, because they don't fit exactly in that little slot there. So you're going to put the tape a little high so that it catches on the back of the books, and just place your book in kind of at a little angle, and you're good to go. Now we're going to make a little, I don't know what it is, a little lamp or an inkwell or something. This is probably the tiniest thing of this first bunch that we're going to make. And the easiest way I found is to push the little wood piece in as far as you can go, and then put the bottom piece in. And then it is nice and tight. You don't need, well, I didn't need any glue, and you got your cute little thing. They did ask for tape on this one. I felt glue was better, so I just put a glop of glue for each of these little top pieces. There's a little picture frame with the peace sign, and then your little doodad. And this piece is done. Alright, we got all our little pieces done. Now we're going to get in the nitty-gritty here. We're going to build our first wall. And this is what I mean by, I just ended up just doing it in order of the book. It just seemed to make the most sense. So just gather on all your parts and pieces, probably the trickiest part of everything. And here we go. Oh, and the hardest one to find, for me anyway, was this guy. I kept looking for a piece of wood, but use that little chart. It's very handy. So we're going to flip this main wall piece upside down, so that the wood side up, and we are going to put these little pegs in. They do come into play later, so make sure you place them in the right direction that it says in the instructions. I do like that their instructions have gotten a lot clearer as they've progressed. So this is the newest kit, so this one, make sure you put it the right way. It makes sense once, because there's a hole there and 2 holes on top. It should line up. And then you just stack them up. Another thing that could easily be missed, because I did, is don't forget to take the little film off your pieces of clear plastic. Otherwise they aren't nice and shiny. It is on these dark ones. I believe it's on both sides, and some of them it's only on one side. So you just kind of either use your little X-Acto knife, or I always use my nails. I destroy my nails all the time. So and and I found that it was easier to put the pegs in here first and then place it on the main wall. And now we're going to build the little windowsill. Some of these pieces fit strangely. Like this one is very loose, but once you build all the parts in there, it's in there pretty tight. And again, make sure you take your film off. This one had it on one side. And now I'm going to get more confident with the double sticky tape. I use it a lot less as we go. This piece, you'll see where the D4 is there. That hole will go right in that slot. So you'll know you do it right if it all matches up, because there are things that go into those holes later on. And when we put this in, it didn't fit as tight as some of the other pieces. It does flop around a little bit, but you're gonna see that we'll tighten it up with some other parts and pieces. But if you wanted to, you could put a little dollop of glue somewhere on the edge. All right, now we're gonna put the door in. So the top part is pretty easy. Just make sure you got it in the right direction. These little slot, that rounded slot is for the door hinge. So just make sure that's facing the right direction, and you just kind of jam it in there. It gets tighter and tighter as it goes. And if it feels a little too loose for you, you can always put a blop of glue in there. It wasn't too bad. And then you just put the top door hinge in. And now we're going to do the bottom. The bottom plate for me was tricky because I did it just straight on, so putting it on that side and then angling it up and then trying to go down, it does not go down that way. So, and you're going to see it. So what you need to do is pop out the end, so on the right side there, pop that out a little bit, angle in the left side, and then it goes boop right in, and it's very loose. So the instructions do help. We're going to put this little sign in. Now, if you didn't glue it in, this window is going to be a little loose, so hold it with your finger in the back to push these pieces in. And it's just a little piece that juts out a little bit, and then your little picture frame and a sticker. Yeah, more pieces. And these, we're going to just put these, I'm going to call them little shelves. And there's 3 of them. Just put them where they say. And for this wall, it's done for now. So we're going to just set it aside and go on to the next. So here's the other wall. This one is just as easy. There's no little teeny tiny parts and pieces, not really. And pulling these parts out, as you can see, they're like those giant puzzles that you give to your kids, you know, to learn the ABCs and things like that. They're nice and thick and chunky, very easy to work with. I kind of like not having to wallpaper them all. I don't know, I could go either way, but this one it's nice and neat and tidy. So we're just gonna put this little piece of paper behind this little Rapunzel tower looking thing. And I looked at this a couple ways to see if there was a front or a back. I tried to put the darker side out. If there was one, I couldn't tell very much. And that little piece is pretty much done. You're going to look at the instructions a lot, so make sure your angles and everything are in the right place before you put it together. They do fit very tight, so use your brute strength if you have to. And they're pretty tough pieces, so don't worry about breaking them. Just put it on the table and start jamming them in. And once they're in. So it's pretty strong. We're going to put the top piece, and you'll notice in the instructions it tells you which end up by the blank. So when you see a blank little square, that means the blank side, the non-printed side, goes that direction that they tell you to. And you're going to see here, it is tight. So just use all your force. If you have to, sometimes I use my scissors to kind of push it down so I don't kill my fingers. And you're just going to keep on building. Now you're going to put this little floor piece here. And at first it confused me because there is a big gap at the bottom when you put this in. But it does make sense later on because you're going to slide another part in that area. Here's another windowsill. So you're going to put the little T-piece in first. And yep, nice and tight. No glue required. I think I used less and less glue as I went along from when I started. And this next piece, it's just like the bottom of the door frame. It does not want to go in there. I fiddled and played with it, and finally it just kind of went in. But yeah, it's an awkward little piece. It fits very tight. So you kind of have to push it down on one end so that it'll fit on the other end. And then after you get mad at it, eventually it just falls into place. Like, oh, you want me to do this? Just, there you go. It'll go there eventually. Now you're going to make these little window shutters. Pay attention to the lines on, because it's flat on one side and then there's little score marks on the other. So the ones with the lines are going to go where the little cross beams are, and that's going to show. So that's the trickiest part of this whole thing, is just make sure the lines are on the outside. And where you're going to put these shutters is, you'll notice there's little square holes. They're not round. So if you put them in the right way, they're not going to move. So square peg in the square hole, you got it made. You passed the test. And you're going to slide these little awning holders so it goes straight in and then slide down. And there's going to be a few of these. So straight in, slide it down to lock into place. And a house that has a library in it has a soul. There you go. There's a lot of little sayings and they're very clear to read. It's kind of cool. And now we're going to make a little window for the window with this grating. So I just cut it to size, and you're going to stick it down with the double stick tape, and you're good. And your second wall is done for now. On to the next. All right, our fun and favorite is lights. So we're gonna take this package of goodies, all the power pack and the lights and things like that, and we're gonna start building our lights. There's 2 lights in this project, so I'm going to do both of them at the same time. And the first thing you're going to do, which each of them, is twist up the wires. It's just easier to work with, and they tell you to do it. And you're going to see this little rubbery tube piece, and you're just going to cut it down to size. The first one I cut a little short, but it's okay. You can fudge it a little bit. So you just cut it. I found the scissors was a lot easier. I tried with the X-Acto knife at first. It just doesn't cut all the way through like you want it. And then you're gonna jam it on the end. This one you're gonna see is just a smidge short, but nobody will ever know. So you're gonna put the little rivet in, a little dome piece, And I, on this one, did glue it. Just a little reinsurance because I don't want these to fall apart. The second light, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So twist up your wires first. It's just easier to work with, especially when you're stringing all the rivets and things. And this one, same thing. We're going to put the little dome piece on. I made this one a little longer, and it's got a rivet. And I think I used the wrong rivet in the wrong side. Nobody's ever going to know. But I think the shiny one was supposed to go on this dome light one. And I did put a dab of glue on these again, just in case, because I wouldn't want to put it all together and then it just falls off. And for the little covering, you're gonna cut a hole in the top. So I just used my X-Acto, spun it around. You don't need to make a very big hole, just big enough so that your wire can go in. And then you're gonna string it up. And this is where the shiny one was supposed to go, but that's okay. So we're going to put a bead on, and we're going to put the long plastic tube piece. And this kind of holds it when it dangles down. You're going to see later on. And I always test lights as I go, because now is the time when you want to be able to fix things, not when it's already in your project. So I want to make sure all our lights work, and then we can go on to the next step. The plain light, the one that doesn't have the little dome piece, is going to go on this piece. Just make sure your little holes line up the way the picture is, and then you're golden. And then now we're used to gluing this wire down, so this is a new way. They have a little bracket that kind of holds the wire in. Kind of cool. So just jam this one in, make sure your wire's in the middle, and this piece is good for now. The one with the dome, this is going to go into your little curlicue piece here. So you're going to do kind of like a little sewing. So you'll see the first little hole there that kind of has a little divot at the bottom. You're going to start there. I fiddled with those wires that were exposed. I ended up cutting them down just to make my life easier, because we're going to strip the wires again at the end anyway. So just make sure this dangles down just enough so that it hangs at the end of the tube, and then you're going to start weaving it in and out of these holes. And yeah, I'm going to get rid of these fringes because they were driving me crazy. It just makes it easier to go in and out of these holes here. The only thing you want to keep in mind when you're doing this in and out is make sure after every little loop that it's nice and flat against the curly cube piece. So you do a stitch, flatten it out, do a stitch, flatten it out, and then it'll be nice and neat and tidy. Alright, we got another windowsill to do. So you're going to put this long T piece in there. It's going to be nice and tight. And then we're going to put in the window ledge. And then you're going to put the window ledge in there. I thought it was going to be tight like the other one was, but this one's a little loose. So if you want to, you can put a dab of glue in there. But once you put the window that goes into that slot, it does tighten in. So either way. When you put these brackets in, just make sure they're facing the right direction. Again, there's little lines on there, so the pretty part goes out. And these connect everything together. So if you didn't put glue on that bottom ledge, it's fine because this is going to tighten it all up. And now we're going to layer it up. So we're going to put kind of a lattice work going on there. Make sure the brown side is facing out. So the pretty side on the outside. And then you're going to put your window piece. Make sure you peel the film off. Don't forget. And then we're going to put little pegs or holders on the edges to tighten it all up. The chunkier pieces, they fit very, very tight, so just use all your might, jam it in there. Sometimes I've had to have help with stronger hands, but just use your table and it'll tighten up for you. And then we're going to put the light in. You're going to see a little tiny hole, and I would put your wires in there. It's trickier to do when your piece is already in it. So just string that light through, and just like the other pieces, it goes in straight and then goes down to lock it in place. And we have one little roof piece. You're going to kind of notice the direction. That's the back side. So that's the front side, and you're going to see that the tiles go down. So it'll feel right when you put it on which direction it is. after I put that roof on, I was like, that light is not right, and I have an extra part. So I missed a piece. Oops, that's okay. Easy to fix. We just pull that out. We're going to put this little piece in the bottom, and then it lays a little more flush. Makes much more sense. Oops, see? Everybody makes mistakes. Easy to fix. We're building the main frame here. So this one has the floor and everything else. It looks daunting. It's not. It's very easy. You can do this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our blue door wall, and we're going to flip it upside down, and we're going to put the sidewall in. Just the hardest part is getting, well, it is a puzzle basically, so getting the right piece in the right area. And these pieces fit very tight again, so just jam them together, and they're pretty durable. Don't be too timid. These thick wooden pieces, these particle board pieces, are very strong, so you can, I wouldn't hammer them, but you can definitely use some brute force to put them together and be fine. And now we're going to connect our first wall here to the ground, our little cobblestone area. Time for the roof. I did notice that, mostly out of awkwardness, some of these pieces are really hard to jam together. So I'm going to pay attention to where the wires go. So there's a little hole there, and just put it in the slots. If you got it the right direction, all the holes will line up. This one's a little funny because the pegs that go into the holes, you'll notice there's more room in the slots. That's because you're going to put one more piece on top of that, and it's going to fit in those extra space of the holes. Now they wanted you to do this later, but I'm going to do it now when I have all these little holes accessible and easier to get to. So this is going to be the second light. We're going to put it into the hole at the top here before we attach the orange piece, and then I'm going to string it through the back later on. Putting this orange roof piece was probably the hardest one. I really struggled with it. Either my hands aren't strong enough or something, but getting that to fit on there was tough. It did get it eventually in the end. You just gotta keep pushing, ask for some help if you have to, and it'll get in, I promise. Phew, now that you got that top piece in, we're gonna do the final little stringing of all the wires, because this is gonna get sealed up where the door is here. So we want to get it all right before we put the back wall in. And it just goes through the side little hole there and out this the big giant hole on the outside where the cobblestone is. Now you're going to put your bookshelf facing out because you want to show your customers through the window. So you're going to put it in these holes and slots. One thing, remember, and I kept it in mind too, is you're not going to be able to get to this shelf. You can through the door a little bit, but make sure it's in the right spot. I put a little dab of glue just because I was a little paranoid. But yeah, this is going to be the only time you're going to be able to reach this bookshelf. So get it right. Alright, time to seal her up. Just make sure your picture goes on the inside. It makes sense. You're going to put in the bottom and then slide it in on the sides. Use those muscles. Alright, we're going to make a little step that has kind of a sewer grate, I guess. Kind of a drainage system. I always think of Ratatouille. I don't know why. But, so we're going to put a little grate on. Just cut it to size. You're going to use your double sticky tape and cover that up. Nice and easy. And this is going to be where the writing is probably going to be on the outside, but it's okay because we're going to completely cover this up. So just put the two corner pieces together first and then put it in the slots. Here you're going to see where I use my scissors to help me push it down. It just helps you, especially with the smaller pieces, they can really dig into your fingers. So work smarter, not harder, right? And just get it nice and flush. And then we're going to put this little first step in. You're basically just going to keep building your steps up until you get it to the end there. So put the side piece in. Oh, yep, flip them around. Make sure it's going the right direction. Stare at that instructions for as long as you need to. Don't rush it, because these pieces fit tight. If you have to take it apart, you can do it, but it's kind of a pain. So take your time. Now you're going to get your little step covering paper here. It's all pre-creased, super nice. I mean, this kit can't be any easier, right? I haven't done the next section yet, so but so far it's not bad. It's just learning some new skills here. So you're just going to fold your paper up and put your double sticky tape on the stairs and stick it down. I did find that there was a couple spots where the paper didn't stick all the way down, and I just put a little blob of glue there and smoothed it in. Just use glue as needed. You got one more step to put in here. It said to put some tape on there. I found that it was very, very tight, so I didn't really need any. So I just put it in there. It ain't going anywhere. I'm going to build this little box now. I'm not sure what the purpose is just yet, but we're going to just build it. It's a three-sided box because it kind of goes in the corner. Just make sure you got the right sides up. Again, this one, the writing is going to show on the outside because we're going to cover it up. So they fit nice and tight. This one has a sticker. Just take your time. Don't stick it all at once because it's kind of hard to get off. Worst case, if this just totally got messed up, you could probably paint it. So, same thing. I just stuck it down and stick it in the corner where they want it to go. Alright, we got our other wall to do. So now it gets a little more awkward the more stuff that's in there. So the best way, and they do tell you to do it this way, is to stick it in the bottom first. And you can see that slot under the door. That's why there's a gap there. So you're going to finagle this for a while. Put it straight down, and it should, when you start tipping it up, all fit into the holes. Luckily, there's a hole underneath that helps me kind of push things up, down, around. You're gonna take a while to stick these together. Just try not to knock your little doors off. These things were very tricky to put together, and I think it's the biggest, chunkiest part, so hopefully when we get all the accessories in there, it's not too bad. Just straighten your stuff out and ta-da! There you go. Right, now we're going to do a couple awnings. It makes sense to do it in order because thinking back now, if we put these awnings in first and then try to manhandle the side walls to squish them together, they would have been destroyed. So do them in order. So we're going to stick some tape down. As I go along, I like the tape more and more. It's kind of nice because you don't have to wait for the gloopy glue to dry. But yeah, you do have to kind of get it right the first time you stick it down. Especially on pieces like this, because if you messed up and then you had to take it off, you're gonna have to get that sticky tape off, and just take your time, go slow. And there's just a little notch right there that you're gonna put a little tab in, and it holds it into place. Everything's in place. The lights are where they need to be. Now we can hook it to the power source. So we're just gonna separate the wires. There's a gray wire and a black wire, and you're gonna put the gray wires together and then the black wires together. To strip these wires, you can either very gently, don't cut all the way through, just kind of score the outside of the wire to pull the coating off, or like I do on some of these little tiny wires, I can use my nail. I have pretty tough nails, so I can kind of do that, but you know, they still get destroyed. Just cut enough off so that you expose a little bit of the wire. I like using these shrink tubes. The kit does come with tape to wind it up. Either way is fine. And then you just gotta hook it to the power source. Do it the right direction. So when you put this together, you're gonna put the black wires with the red wire, and you're gonna put the gray wires with the black wire. And before you seal it all up, test it. Test it. That way, if you have to, if something was wired backwards, you can flip it around until all the lights turn on, and then you can seal it up with your tape or your shrink tubes like I did. This hole that they wanted you to put the battery box in is very awkward and doesn't quite fit. It's very weird, but make sure your little and I did it wrong the first time, I had to fix it. Make sure where you turn it on and off, the switch, is accessible. So fold it out and jam it in there, and then that way you'll be able to reach where the switch is. And it is weird that it's on the bottom. They do give a list of, what if it doesn't work? To try this, try that. It's just trial and error. And once you do get it, you should have all your lights on. The whole 2 lights. There's one on the inside of the bookstore and one, the street lamp on the outside. Ta-da! All right, we're almost done with this first section, and then we can take a break, right? So there's just a few parts and pieces, nothing too difficult. We're gonna gather our parts and start building. This first thing is just kind of a column piece that goes on the outside. So this little scroll sticker goes on the side of the piece, and then it goes against your wall. Everything's going to start hooking together and make sense. And then we're just going to top off our column, make it all nice and pretty. This one did take some double sticky tape because they're a little bit loose. And then we have some toppers for the roof line. The only tricky part is make sure it's centered on the wall so it looks right. And make sure your pieces are facing the right direction. Then we have a little bit of edging on the outside to cover up all our rough edges, I assume. Again, just make sure that the right direction goes. This one, make sure the writing goes on the inside, and there's a flat side and a round side. The round side goes towards the middle. And we have a little sign that books and bookbinding, so we know what it is, I guess. It's cute. So we'll stick it on there. That's nice and tight. Make sure it's up against the double sticky tape. It ain't moving, ain't going anywhere. Alright, now we're going to build our last awning here. We're going to be very good at putting in these brackets. Just slide it in, slide it down. And there's 3 of them here. Before we do that, because it's going to be awkward with the awning in, we're going to put our little signs in. And it says, welcome, a library, literature since 1995, I don't know, 1915? And another little teeny tiny sign. What's funny is, even though they're teeny tiny, and I'll zoom in on them later, they do actually have words that are legible. I'm going to stick a little tiny picture frame on this piece, and then we're going to do a couple more pictures. We have 2 more pictures, and I don't know if there's a difference inside or outside, but we're going to put our little William Shakespeare here and stick it as best as we can on the middle, and then we'll stick them on the wall. One last thing, we're going to take the awning, we're going to fold it up. Now they want you to put some tape on the corners to hold it together, and I did that. I used the littler double sticky tape and just kind of hooked the corners together so it's nice and square. We're gonna stick it onto our little brackets, and then last thing, we're gonna put a little welcome mat on. Ta-da! And there you go. It's done. At least part one. This was all the main frame. We got steps and doors and windows. All the main foundation stuff is done. It looks like, looking ahead in the book, that we got a lot of furniture and plants and all sorts of fun accessories to do in the next one. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because then you won't miss the second part of this series. And also, there's a lot more kits that I did, and I do more than just kits. There's all sorts of things in there. You're bound to find something that you like, right? And speaking of like, if you like this video, please do the little thumbs up. It really does help me out and gets me into all the like-minded folks into the recommended. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.